You don't live here anymore. We already signed everything. Those words, flung at me by my mother-in-law, landed like a slap. I stood there, grocery bag in one hand, keys in the other, on the doorstep of my own apartment, facing her, holding my keys like some kind of poison trophy, wearing that smug, syrupy smile that dripped with ownership. Inside, the smells were wrong. The sounds. The air. Someone else was living here now. And it wasn't me. In the kitchen, 2 mugs. In the hallway, her slippers. On my dresser, her glasses. And, somewhere in all of it, I had disappeared. Joanne, what are you talking about? This is my apartment. I bought it before the marriage. The documents are in my name. She smirked. Sweetheart, maybe pay more attention to what you sign. Matt transferred everything into a family trust. It's for your safety, of course. You wanted everything shared? Well, now it's all shared. I took the paper from her hand. Some fake power of attorney. My signature. Only it wasn't. Not even close. But it was notarized. Filed. He did this behind my back? I could barely hold the page. Oh, don't be so dramatic. Matt's thoughtful. He planned ahead. You're always so busy with your salons. Throwing money away. Did you really think you could live forever on your terms? I tried calling him. 3 rings. Voicemail. Then a text, don't start. We'll talk later. He's at work, she said. He knew you'd be stopping by. This way is easier. No scene. No scene. She stood in my doorway. And sold this off like it was a family decision. I stepped forward. Joanne, you forged my signature. That's a criminal offense. She rolled her eyes. Who's going to prove it? You sign everything in a rush. Business, papers. And enough with the Victim Act. You lost, Rachel. Accept it. I looked at her. This woman who once called me family. But acted like the enemy. And suddenly, I felt a strange calm. Because I knew. I hadn't lost. They just made their move. And now? It was my turn to start the game. 3 hours later. I was sitting in Maya's office. Old friend. Now attorney. Calm like a surgeon before an incision. She read the documents in silence. Then looked up. We've got a problem. The notary listed on this power of attorney? Died 3 years ago. It's a forgery. Full stop. What did they do with the apartment? I asked, already knowing the answer. Maya flipped the next page. Sold it to a shell company. Took out a loan against it. 75 grand. All using your social security number. I couldn't breathe. They didn't just steal my home. They cashed it out. Maya nodded. And if we don't act fast, you lose it all. But we've got a case. This is fraud. This is criminal. And we can prove it. I clenched my jaw, looked out the window, and said quietly, then let's go. Time to take my name back. And roll the credits on their little performance. I sat in my car outside the bank, window cracked open, as if the air alone could keep me from crying. Not out of weakness. Out of humiliation. When someone tells you to your face that you no longer live in your own home, it feels like you've been tossed out like a used object. But when you find out they also emptied your accounts behind your back, the tears don't come from pain. They come from rage. Inside the bank, a young woman in a name tag that read Vanessa, relationship banker, approached me. Polite. Bright smile. Too kind for what I was about to hear. I handed over my passport. I'd like a statement, please. For my business savings account. Of course, Ms. Morgan. Just a moment. She tapped on her screen. Then froze. Would you like the statement after closure? I frowned. Closure. Vanessa's eyes dropped to her desk. The mortgage on your property was paid off. The full balance. 5 days ago. From which account? Your business savings account. The transfer was for $131,400. My hands trembled. That was my money. My startup fund. I didn't finish. Because I knew. I knew who had done it. 30 minutes later, I was in Maya's office. She was already waiting, coffee brewed, laptop open, documents printed. She didn't look up from her screen. It was orchestrated, she said. He used the power of attorney, the one signed by a dead notary. They processed the sale through a shell LLC, then pulled a $75,000 loan using the house as collateral. Textbook fraud. I exhaled. Slow, heavy, shaky. That's all it takes? A forged signature, and suddenly you no longer own the life you built. Maya looked at me, calm but sharp. Not just takes. Brazen. Deliberate. This wasn't emotional. It was a plan. So, what can we do? She leaned forward. The way only someone who loves you leans forward. We sue. We file for fraud. We alert the IRS. But you need to understand it'll be long. And ugly. I was silent for a beat. Then said, "That's fine. Ugly, I can handle. Ugly is honest." That evening, back at the motel I now called home, I checked my mail. One envelope. From the county clerk's office. I knew what it was. But I opened it anyway. Confirmation of property transfer. Assignment of beneficiary to family trust. I stared at the signature line. My name. Not my handwriting. And then another page. Business registration. Also transferred. To the trust. He didn't just take my home. He took my business too. I sat on the bed. Face in my hands. This wasn't just theft. It was a cleansing. An erasure. A rewrite. Like I had never existed. I lifted my head. Found a number. Searched longer than I'd expected. But I found it. Financial Crimes Division? I need to speak with someone. I have reason to believe my documents were used without consent. A minute later, I was speaking to Sergeant Decker. "This is Rachel Morgan," I said. "My mother-in-law and husband transferred ownership of my home. My signature was forged. Shell companies are involved. I'm ready to prove everything." Pause. "Understood. Come in tomorrow. We'll get everything on record." I hung up, looked out the window, and whispered to no one. They faked everything. Now it's time for the real thing. If you think you've figured it all out, wait a few more days. When the truth starts to unpack, you'll find yourself begging to go back to the ignorance, where at least you could still breathe. "Rachel, are you sitting down?" Maya's voice was calm. Too calm. And I already knew. This wasn't going to be good news. Well, I am now. I looked into the notary who supposedly verified your signature on the power of attorney. And? She's dead. 3 years ago. Silence. On the phone. Inside me. Everywhere. You're sure? I'm staring at her obituary. Travis County Retirees Association. Photo with a dog and grandkids. Buried in San Antonio. I didn't know whether to laugh or tear my hair out. They used a dead notary seal? Yes. And so sloppily, I'm personally offended as a lawyer. It's fake. And cheap. But to a casual eye, looks real. That's the danger. That's the plan. I stood up. Started pacing the room, like I could stomp the fury out of the carpet. So if I hadn't dug, it would have stayed that way? Yes. You'd be without your home. Without your business. Without a single piece of proof. Maya. I'm not done. I froze. I decided to dig deeper. Do you remember the name Lisa Mason? No. She filed a suit against Matt back in 2019. She was living with him. Said he transferred her car into his name using a fake bill of sale. Also drained her account. What happened with the case? Dismissed. They weren't married, so asset claims were murky. Her lawyer was cheap. She couldn't afford to fight. Maya sent me the scan. The fake bill of sale. The signature I recognized immediately. Same pen strokes. Same forgery. Same hand as the one on my power of attorney. I sat on the bed. He's done this before. He's practiced. Now he's just gotten better. I started flipping through old messages from Matt. Voice notes calling me Bunny. Silly memes. Photos from our first vacation. And one thought spun in my head. All this time, he wasn't looking at a wife. He was looking at a target. That night, I didn't sleep. I printed everything. Made copies. Created a new folder. Operation Backfire. I was going to fight. All the way through. But first, I was going to find Lisa Mason. Because if Matt thought he could run this playbook on repeat, he clearly hadn't met two women who've had everything stolen from them. You think it can't get worse. And then you find out they didn't just steal your house. They sold it. Behind your back. through a fake company your husband created with his own mother. And everything's filed like you agreed to it. Maya called early in the morning. Rachel, get up. We need to talk. I found their setup. 20 minutes later, I was in her office, coffee cup in hand, fingers trembling, heart pounding somewhere near my throat. They created a shell company, Maya started. On paper, you sold them your apartment. Officially. It's recorded in the county system. Wait, sold. Yes. A fake transaction. They transferred ownership to a company where Joanne is listed as director, and Matt as the secondary signer. And who's their notary? Another ghost. Pretty much. This time it's a woman who moved abroad. We'll have to reach her through a consulate. I felt my stomach twist. And what did they do after that? They took out a $75,000 loan against the property. Equity. If they don't pay, you lose everything. The air went still. Even the office AC seemed to pause. I stood up. They didn't just steal my home. They cashed it in. Like I'm their personal ATM. Later that same day, I went to see them. I didn't know why, maybe just to look into the faces of people who thought they could run my life like it was their closet. Joanne opened the door. Robe. Designer mug. That same smug energy, just slightly more nervous in the eyes. Rachel? How unexpected. I walked past her without a word. Where is he? Matt's at the gym. Chest day. You know his routine. I exhaled. You created a fake company. Filed a fraudulent sale. Pulled equity from a house I paid for. In my name. With my money. She rolled her eyes. It was a family decision. Matt needed help. You would have wasted it on your little projects anyway. The salon, your other nonsense. We did what made sense. You really think that was reasonable? And you really think anyone will believe you if we say you agreed to it? You forged my signature. Prove it. I stepped closer. You always hated that I had something of my own. Without your influence. Without your control. You didn't want a daughter-in-law. You wanted a resource. She looked at me, then finally said, You think some articles online will help you in court? We have connections. And I have the truth. And one more thing, I'm not alone anymore. I left without slamming the door. Because I knew. The next blow wasn't coming to her face. It was headed to her bank. Her taxes. Her courtroom. The next day, Maya and I filed an emergency injunction. Journalists picked up the story fast. Headline in the Austin Ledger. She came home, but her house had already been sold. How one woman exposed her in-laws' real estate scam. The phones exploded. Talk show invites. I declined. I wasn't after fame. I was after justice. But the most unexpected part? Joanne walked into Maya's office. No notice. No lawyer. You turned this into a circus, she snapped. You want war? You've got it. This isn't war. It's defense. You really think you're going to come out of this on top? I already have. I'm not afraid of you anymore. Maya stood. If you're here without legal representation, we can't continue. Leave, or I'll call the police. And for the first time, Joanne looked down. Not with defiance. With uncertainty. She left. And in that moment, I knew. The empire built on lies? It had started to fall. I filled out the IRS complaint with shaking hands. Not because I was scared. Because I was furious. This wasn't just paperwork. This was my enough. It was the moment I told the system. Look what they did, and watch how I'm going to stop it. Everything Maya, Marcus, Elena, and I had uncovered. I packed into folders, spreadsheets, charts. Shell LLCs, money moving through debt accounts. Fake consulting invoices, skimmed for compensation. They used my SSN to claim tax benefits, secure credit, and present themselves as the people providing for the family. Family. The one they tossed like an empty dishwasher box. 2 weeks after I filed, the phone rang. A journalist. Rachel Morgan? My name's Lindsay. I'm with the Texas Journal. We're working on a piece. Woman loses home to fake family trust. Are you open to comment? I didn't speak at first. Then I asked, Do they know you're digging? They declined to comment. Matt said it was all done in love. Joanne said you've always been emotionally unstable. I snorted. Let them try calling me crazy in court. I've got the paperwork. I'm calmer than a CPA on a Friday. 3 days later, the article dropped. Headline: Woman loses home to family trust forged by husband and mother-in-law. Inside scans. Quotes. Photos. Mine holding a glass of water, sitting on a bench outside the courthouse. Caption: Rachel didn't lose it all. She just started cleaning up. The fallout was immediate. The IRS froze accounts. Joanne received notice of her pension payments being suspended pending investigation. Matt lost his job. We deal in trust, his former boss told reporters. If you forged a trust document, maybe you shouldn't be managing client accounts. But they were still living in my apartment. The case was ongoing. I couldn't legally evict them until the ruling. And it was eating me alive. I'd drive past my own home. See the lights on. In one window, Joanne's silhouette. With a mug. In my robe. That was the worst kind of pain. When your pain walks around your house in slippers. Then, one night, a call. Unknown number. Rachel? Yes, it's Carl. I used to handle the security system at your complex. I work maintenance now. I was inside today, fixing the call box. I stiffened. Did something happen? He hesitated. I'm not sure I should say anything, but I saw something weird. And thought, maybe you don't know. Say it. Joanne. She was showing your apartment. To 3 people. Like she's trying to sell or rent it. Silence. My jaw dropped. They're staging showings? One guy was a realtor. Said, great location. Just odd the client isn't here. My face went pale. Carl. Thank you. I'll send an official order as the legal owner. Do not grant access to anyone without me. Understood. And good luck, Ms. Morgan. I hung up and laughed. Quietly. Wildly. From exhaustion. They didn't just steal. They were flipping the stolen goods. Like I was nothing but an old chair they could list on Craigslist. And in that moment, I made myself a promise. When this is over, I'll walk through that house in red heels and scrub every corner clean of their lies. I came home through the front door. The click of the key in the lock sounded loud, like the starting gun of a new life. The apartment smelled of dust, faded air freshener, and something that once was me. I opened the windows, let the light in, stood in the middle of the living room and just stood. Silently. My home. Mine again. Joanne and Matt now owe $200,000. The court ruling is final. Their accounts are frozen. Their pensions, insurance, assets seized. And me? I can breathe again. I didn't just take back an apartment. I took back myself. In the kitchen, I found an envelope. No stamp. Just sitting on the table like a stray thought someone left behind. The handwriting Joanne's. Inside, a letter. Handwritten. Rachel. I know you hate me. And maybe you have every right. I just wanted to protect the family. We thought you were weak. That you wouldn't survive this. We were wrong. Joanne. I read it 3 times. Then folded it neatly. Stepped onto the balcony. And burned it in the ashtray, watching the flame devour every line. No pity. No theatrics. A week later, I ordered a metal plaque and screwed it onto my front door. No forgers allowed. The neighbor upstairs walked by and chuckled. God, I love that energy. I just nodded. Life got quiet again. Work. Morning coffee. Books. My old throw blanket back on the couch. Flowers on the windowsill, mine, not someone else's. But one night, coming home, I noticed the mailbox lock had been tampered with. Tape peeled. Metal scratched. I tensed. Checked the security footage. No clear face. Just a silhouette. I called Maya. We filed a report. Upgraded the cameras. Changed the locks. The next day, I saw the news. Joanne was missing. Failed to check in with her attorney. Violated probation. Matt said he didn't know where she was. And I didn't know what to feel. Fear? Pity? Satisfaction? No. Just caution. Some people don't know how to lose. They just go quiet. I sit by the window with a cup of coffee. A folder rests on my lap, every document. Every password. Every spare key. Nothing is unprotected anymore. Life taught me. Sometimes enemies don't disappear. They just wait for a moment. But now, I have immunity. I see them coming. I recognize them by tone, by phrasing, by the very first, "You just misunderstood." I set the mug in the sink, wiped my hands, picked up a marker, and on the back of the plaque I added one more line. No forgers allowed. And no second chances. A letter came in the mail. No name, no return address. Just my name, handwritten in shaky blue ink. No stamp either. Someone had dropped it off by hand. I opened it slowly. Inside, one page. Lined. Torn from a spiral notebook. The handwriting was familiar. Matt. Rachel. I've been thinking a lot about what happened. I know you think I'm a monster. Maybe I am. But for what it's worth, I didn't mean to lose everything. I thought I could fix it before you found out. Joanne pushed me, yes. But I let her. I should have stopped it. I didn't. I'm sorry. No return address. No contact number. Just that apology hanging there, 5 months too late. I folded it once. Tore it down the middle. Then again. Then again. Because sometimes healing doesn't come from closure. It comes from scissors. That same afternoon, Maya called. It's official, she said. They're both blacklisted from opening any accounts. Their credits shredded. IRS froze everything. I exhaled. Not out of relief, but out of something deeper. Like I could finally unclench my teeth. Then Maya added. And the house? County clerk finalized reversal. You're the sole legal owner again. I didn't speak. Just walked to the window. Watched the sun press itself against the glass. Soft. Gentle. Unbothered. Like it had waited for me to come back to life. That evening I made dinner. Not takeout. Not gas station sandwiches. Real food. Roasted vegetables. Baked salmon. Wine from a bottle I'd been saving for when it's all over. It was over. I lit a candle. Set the table for one. And smiled. Not because I was happy, but because I wasn't afraid anymore. And that was better.